4 years ago, I started this, and I didn't know, like, all God was telling me to do was start.
Reach out to a bunch of people. You might get a bunch of no's, but somebody's going to say yes. And somebody's going to be willing to help you and to teach you, or at least point you in the right direction of where you can go. But just don't be afraid to, like, reach out to people and ask for an opportunity, because opportunity ain't always going to be knocking on your door. You got to go seek it out.
The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. I said the harder you grind, the bigger you dream. I said you're up and I'm up. Y'all now tuned in to the Grind Hard Dream Big Show. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. I got a special guest in the building. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
What's going on? I'm Amber Rayne, and I'm a producer, a visual artist, a filmmaker, and I'm excited to be here with Jay.
For sure. So, like, what was your early childhood like, coming up in the DMV, like born, raised, go to school, things like that? Like, what was that for you?
I grew up in Old Bowie. Well, actually, the first place I ever lived was in Greenbelt. I live in Spring Hill Lake. My parents, and then we moved to a house in Old Bowie. And then my parents had my sister. So I have one sister. I'm the oldest. And, like, I had a pretty good childhood, I would say. I grew up in a very, like, diverse neighborhood. I went to the same, like, elementary school. I went to one elementary school, one middle school, one high school. I went to Eleanor Roosevelt High School in Greenbelt. I was in science and tech. Didn't really want to be in science and tech. Those were not my strong subjects, but I took, like, the tests to get into the program, and I did really well in the test. So my parents was like, you can go ahead and go. But I always been very creative, like, growing up. I always used to draw, write poetry. When I was younger, I used to want to be an interior designer.
Okay.
I would draw like the inside of, like, my dream room, or I would draw, like, my dream house. I would draw all the clothes that I, like, wanted. Like, I would literally draw, like, rooms, houses, and clothes, and, like, things that I, like, wanted my life to be like when I was younger. But a lot of it was centered around like fashion and beauty and design and things like that. But like, growing up, I wasn't necessarily really, like, my artistic abilities were encouraged, but they weren't necessarily encouraged as, like, a career path. So it was always kind of like a hobby and a side thing. And as I went through school, I kind of, like, had this idea, like, I was going to become an attorney. So after I graduated from Roosevelt, I went to Howard for 3 years, and I was a poli-sci major and a sociology minor. And I was going to, like, graduate, and then I was going to try to go to law school and go to Howard Law. But I ended up leaving Howard after my junior year. And I was, like, in and out of school a couple of years. And then I ended up I went to Bowie State. And when I went to Bowie State, I changed majors. And I did, like, visual communications and digital media art, which is more aligned with what I really wanted to do. But I kind of had to start over in terms of, like, getting my degree, because most of the classes I had taken before didn't apply to, like, the new major. They were, like, for political science.
Nah, for sure. That's a journey within itself and a major change within itself. But shout outs to you for, like, I literally feel like when you go to school, it's like, know what you want to get into, right? Because, like I said, for me, in the DMV, of course, the one elementary, the one middle, the one high school, went to Bowie State, graduated from Bowie State, broadcast journalism major. Okay. So loving communications, public speaking, radio personnel, all those classes, acting for the camera, things like that, to get the degree, obviously, and now full circle using it in the talents, and awesome. It is with podcasting and things like that. So it's a beautiful thing, and also helping the youth. So as you were able to do that, right, what were some, like, things that you were finding along the way? Because changing majors and then really finding that passion for you, like, when did you know you wanted to kind of go the visual arts route?
When I went to initiate the transfer process, and I was looking at all of my classes for government. Their major is government as opposed to political science. And I realized it was going to take me a lot longer than I planned to get my degree because they had a smaller department and they just didn't have a lot of availability of classes for me to be able to like go ahead and finish after I had already done 3 years at Howard. So I decided to look into like the fine arts, the programs within the fine arts building, and I ended up talking to my former advisor and Professor Malkeshua, and he was like encouraging me to go into it, but I also was kind of like, it's going to take me so long to finish because it's completely different from what I was doing before. And I talked to both my parents about it, and my dad is really the one that like encouraged me, like, if you want to do it, I think you should do it because it's what you want to do. But if you're going to do it, just like commit and like, finish it. Like, don't start and quit, or you know what I'm saying? So, but at a certain point, like, it was a really hard decision because I felt like I just need to hurry up and get out of school and get a job and start making some money. Because like, I'm taking out student loans, I'm gonna have debt and all this other stuff, all these things that you gotta deal with as an adult. But I really decided, I was like, if I'm gonna have to go through a year or two anyway to finish the degree I'm already on, I might as well just go the extra mile and get a degree in something I really want. Because like, my parents aren't the ones getting the degree, and they're not the ones that are gonna have to go find a job and live my life, you know what I'm saying? Or anybody else for that matter. So, like, I think everybody kind of gets to a point where, especially if you have people encouraging you to go in one direction and you're not sure if that's really for you, at some point you got to really, like, realize that, like, nobody's about to do it for you. So, like, it's going to be better if you do something you like and enjoy, because you're going to have challenges either way.
No, that's a fact. I agree. Like, do something that you love. Mm-hmm. And, like, once you find it, like, just keep going. Because, like I said, for me, already knowing what I wanted to do, like, from high school, journalism, writing, news reporting.
That's a blessing.
Like that.
I wish I would have known.
Yeah, to know that and then just to move forward. But, like I said, for me, I always loved sports. So I saw myself, like, on ESPN or something like that. Mm-hmm. But full circle, watching the news and not liking the news, now actually formulating your own is a blessing in disguise, because that's what I look at the podcast as. Yeah. The reason why I created it is because when I was watching the news, I didn't see people like me on it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? In a positive way. Mm-hmm. So now it's like, all right, bring that here.
Right.
Why not? So as you're transitioning from it, right, like that leap of faith, knowing that you arrived, what was that moment for you? Like that moment, like you picked up the camera, you recorded like your first project or whatever it is, and it's like, I could really do this?
Well, I mean, I think once I made the decision to like really pursue the major I wanted in school, it really encouraged me to pursue some of the things I was interested in, like on my own. I started doing photography. And initially before photography, I started modeling. That's because one of my friends was modeling. She encouraged me to get into it. Partially because like I really hated taking pictures, and I just hated like taking pictures. I hated the way I looked at pictures. So she was like, no, I think you should try this. I did. But after a while, I just felt like I need a little bit more control over like the creative aspect of things. And I was like, I had a lot of ideas, and I was like, I need to be the one behind the camera in order to bring like these concepts and ideas to life. So, I just kind of like picked up the camera and I started doing my own projects. And once I started like getting clients, I felt like, okay, like I'm, making money doing this. There's people that like my work, they want to hire me. And then my parents, like my dad's one of them people, he just think like once he get on something, he just kind of run with it. And he was like, oh, you can start doing weddings and stuff. People be charging like $3,000 for weddings. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that though. Like, I don't want to do everything for money. I want to do things that I enjoy and make money doing them. But, I think once I started kind of turning something that was like a hobby or an interest into like a business or a side hustle, because I was doing this while I was still in school, trying to get my degree from Bowie. And my parents kind of like also acknowledged like, okay, like you're getting some success, and like you've started a side business or whatever. It did make me feel a little bit better, like, okay, they're kind of getting it now. Like, they may not have like necessarily understood what I was doing before, but they get it now. And then once, I got my degree, I was kind of just looking for a job, and I ended up getting a job, and then the pandemic happened like shortly after that. So like I started my film career in the pandemic.
Gotcha.
And that was something that like I never expected to go into. It just like happened.
For sure. And like I said, like for me, I know how, like I said, we connected. It was a youth event, our C Pleasant Community Center, and you were speaking on the panel. And what I admired a lot was how you were speaking on the panel. And then, of course, we collabed on, a workshop and you teaching the kids about film and the transparency of that and, like, what goes into that. So on the outside looking in, like, how would you break down, like, a day of, like, film?
Well, really, like, by the day of the film, there's already been a ton of work that's been done just to get to that day. The day, a regular film day, everybody's getting in early. We're loading in equipment. We're putting, making sure our set is good, getting everything organized to actually shoot, getting camera set up, things like that. And then whatever we're shooting, we're following a schedule. We have a shot list, so everything's clear in terms of like what our goals are, what we're shooting. And then, throughout the day, we're just executing. We're pivoting around any challenges that come up. We're working with our client or the talent to reach the goal. And we're usually working at least 10 to 12 hours. A lot of times we'll go longer than that. So we work in long days. But we're creating, we're making art. So it's usually an enjoyable experience for everybody, even though it is work. But that's all the execution of the shoot day is all led up to by a lot of planning and pre-production is what we call it that goes into it. So it's more than just like, the behind the scenes that people see on Instagram, like, oh, we on set.
Right.
And it's like whole time we might have been planning this for like months and working on this and coordinating stuff for months in order to make this day happen. We've been on meetings, we doing research, we putting together documents, and it might just be for one really big day. But everybody just sees like, for me, the people that I interact with, I try to give some insight to what goes on the behind the scenes. And then if you're not even seeing that, you're just seeing like the end result.
Nah, I agree, because it's like, okay, we see the finished product, but we don't know what it took. You know what I'm saying? We don't know how many locations. We don't know how many times it was this take, that take, whatever. We see it in all of our favorite, like, movies or TV shows and things like that. You're like, man, why are they taking so long with this season? I'm ready to watch this season. It's like, you don't even know they took a whole season to shoot that or this.
And I do that too with shows I like. I'd be like, oh my gosh, it's gonna take forever for a new season. And like when sometimes I've even seen like shows like things got delayed, or like it's instead of coming in the summer, it's coming in the fall now. Yeah. And I really be wondering now as a filmmaker, I'd be like, I wonder what happened that made them have to push it back. Like, did somebody get sick? Did something like anything could literally have happened. There could be a issue in a random department that's holding up the whole production. You never know.
And it's like, come on now. Like, okay, was it the actors? Was it this? Was it that? It's like, so even with that and creating it, right? Because I think when you guys are taking on projects, like what goes into it and having, I guess, everybody's best interest. Because I know sometimes it's like, this is a large project. Say, for example, it's like, oh, yeah, you know what? We can pitch this and it can go to Netflix, or we can pitch this can go to Amazon or something like that. Like, what is that creative process like? And then just making sure, you're building those people and everybody knowing their role. Because like, you can hear something that's like, oh yeah, I'm on board. But then it's like, oh, I thought it was this, but I got to do that. So like, can you talk to the notion of like the large projects and understanding like everybody's buy-in? Because I think that's important.
I mean, I think when it comes to any production, it's important to be transparent with the people you're working with. Like, whether this is a passion project or, we got a big budget or a small budget, just being clear on, what you're doing, what your role is. And also just, a lot of times things are going to change and they may just be out of your control. And in order to keep the production going, you're going to have to make adjustments. So for real, when you work in film, like everybody kind of has to be flexible to a certain extent, and you have to be willing to adapt and know that like everybody is, you know, a part of, you know, a team of people that are, it's like a big group project basically. Like,
Right.
so, you know, if there's more work that needs to be done and everybody's gonna have to do more than planned, like if you're gonna be the one that's gonna be complaining about it, like you might not get hired for the next one, because it's like, you know what I'm saying, everybody's trying to get this done. And especially once you already started, and now of course, like I'm not saying things should be unreasonable,
Right.
because people have to live, they have to make money, they have to be able to work in certain conditions. So you can't just like be treating people any kind of way on set, or like have them working in any kind of circumstances. But it's just kind of the understanding that like we all have a goal and we're all just trying to work together to get it done. Like sometimes we gotta have to step up and maybe do a little bit more in order to get it done. But when you're working on a big production, this is the other thing I think when it comes to the process of putting together production and trying to get it somewhere, you have to think about the end goal in the beginning. So if you're trying to get your project on a major platform, number one, what are the ideal platforms you want to get them on? Number two, do your research. What are the requirements in order to get your project on that platform? People don't think about that. They shoot and then they're like, oh, we'll try to pitch it after the fact. And it's like, you didn't even pitch it. You didn't even, shoot your project in the proper format or with the proper specs for Netflix to accept your project. And Netflix actually makes it very easy and accessible to see like what the requirements are. So, like there's a good amount of research that's also required when it comes to planning production, and figuring out what makes sense, and actually making sure that when you're shooting, you're doing it intentionally and with a purpose, so that you can profit off of it and it can be something that's sustainable. You can continue to make films and make money and do what you want to do, what you enjoy for a living.
Facts, yeah. Everybody wants to get paid off their passion. Like, I don't know about you, but yeah, everybody wants to get paid off their passion. Like, if I know it makes sense, it's going to make sense. And I think in the DMV, a lot of us, we look at, it's like, I may know you, you may know me, you may know of me, I may have saw you, and it's like, oh, I didn't know you were valuable. So this whole notion of like value to value, right? I've been to a couple of concerts, and I've seen a lot. And I remember seeing you at the DMV Summer Jam as well. And you're sitting there, right in your bag, doing everything that you needed to do as well. And you're shooting content. How important is that for an artist or just a person in general? Like, how important is content, for creative?
I think, visual art is extremely important. Like, being able to visualize and see things and, have an emotional reaction from the things that we see. It's a part of like how we take in information and, how we shape things in our minds. So, overall, all visual art to me is extremely important. I'm a very visual person. I crave visual stimulation. When it comes to, being an artist and just creating content in general, I think it's important for people to be able to see what's going on and see what you're doing. And as an artist, it helps you connect with the audience. There's only but a certain amount of, mystery that you can provide before people, could possibly become uninterested, because they can't really connect with you unless you're just making something mind-blowing that it doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, or, what you're doing, that people will just like it. But, like with an event like Summer Jam, that was their second year doing the event.
Right.
So with me being a part of the media team, it was very important to highlight the best of that event, to show it in the best possible way, so that, hopefully the event can continue to grow and it can continue to expand and it can be sustainable. And a lot of that has to do with how you present and how you market what you're doing. And so for me, I had a specific strategy on how to work the social media. We had our content team, and I was posting the content on the page, but then I also I wanted to make sure the story was lit. So I was out there outside in the rain, you know, trying to get good quality videos, you know, on my phone or whatever, because everything doesn't have to be professional content all the time either. People want to be able to feel like they're living in the moment, and it's like they can connect with what's going on right now. But between Summer Jam and the day of Summer Jam and the day after, their Instagram page garnered 1 million impressions off of all the content that we put out between all the posts that we did and all the posts on the story. And so, like, that's something that's really major. That means that there's so many people watching and paying attention to what's going on this page. Like, we did our job, essentially. You know what I'm saying? Sure. We tried to maximize the reach as much as possible despite anything, you know?
Right.
Because whether you were there or not, you saw what was going on through social media.
Yeah.
And you're going to see, like, this is the best and most exciting parts of this event. And the show was really good.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed myself. I definitely enjoyed it.
The artists did an amazing job performing. Like, the performances were amazing. There was no shortness of energy, and I feel like every artist really put a lot of effort in. So it was very, you know, I really enjoyed all the performances that was there. It made it easy to, you know,
it makes it easy to work and have fun. And I think that's what it is. Like, when we realize how many, like, the strength in numbers in the DMV, I feel like then we'll understand, like, yo, okay, this person can add value, this person can add value. Okay, cool, you do this. This person is good with the camera. This person can rap. This person can produce. This person can DJ. Like, we have a pool full of talent. So, like, let's utilize it and let's go up. You know what I'm saying? We see all these other areas that have extreme success, and then we look at the DMV and we're like, oh, and it's like, what's the threshold, the crabs in the barrel, or pride and ego, or this, that, and the third. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes it's disheartening, because I'm like, why is it like this? You know what I'm saying? But I think it comes from the mindset and the conversation that, you know, someone can have, right? And not knowing. And then once it's like you realize you are valuable and you are an asset to the situation, now the game can change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now the game can change. So that's what I realized too. I'm like, yo, it's a lot of superstars out here. It's a lot of people that's doing dope stuff. So we're going to make sure that we highlight that stuff.
I mean, I do think, though, a lot of the issue is like ego. A lot of people have a certain level of entitlement, and they also just think like, you know, nobody can say anything against them. Like, they're like the authority on whatever they think, you know what I'm saying? It's just the egos create a certain level of divisiveness because people are not open to other people's perspectives on things and figuring out, okay, well, how can we find a common ground so that we can work together and uplift each other and you know, create that space for each other. There's a lot of there's just a lot of competition. It's a lot of like, you know, or it's a lot of like, oh, we have to do things this way, and if we're not doing this thing, it's not right, or it's not the DMV. And I just don't agree with that, because there's so much diversity and versatility within the DMV. You know, there's so much talent people don't even realize is from here, because it's like people think sometimes like the DMV is one thing or one sound, or is only certain parts of the culture, and it's just way more than that.
No, for sure, absolutely. We got, you know, you got rappers, you got singers, you got Afro beats, you got so many genres, but you know, majority of people will be like, oh yeah, nah, it's only trap, it's only this, it's only that. And it's like, what you mean?
Right, we only you know, everybody, I feel like everybody's waiting for one of the street rappers or the free car rappers to get real big. And it's like, but we have artists that have reached a very high level of success from the DMV that I think people just forget out of the conversation. Or
we have a lot of artists. I mean, I know me coming up in the childhood, college vibes, like the Wale, the Logic, Shy Glizzy Light Show, Fat Trail, like we had a lot of them. You know what I'm saying? Brett Fires also. I mean, you know, different people. But I just think that when people look at a specific area, they be like, nah.
And you got artists like Corday. You got artists like IDK.
Yeah, IDK.
You know what I'm saying? They're doing different stuff. IDK is, you know, singing and doing, you know, live acoustic, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's doing something different. He's still from the DMV. He's still a very successful DMV artist. You know what I'm saying? But it's just, everybody has their opinions. It's just we just be having trouble getting on the same page sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, nah, but we got to get on the same page.
We got to.
Because it's like everybody is looking at us and the fashion and the swag and the influence. They come here, they have a great time here. The nightlife is good here. The culture is good here. So it's like everybody has a good time.
And even if, every artist doesn't reach, this huge peak level of success, I do feel like with the talent that we have in this area, artists should be able to live off of their artistry. You know what I'm saying? They should be able to at least be able to make a living off of what they're doing, whether that's, licensing their songs for, TV shows or movies or video games or whatever. Like, it's not just getting on the radio and getting a hit and becoming like this super, this popular rapper and then going on tour and getting money and buying, like, there's so many other things that you can do with your music and placements that you can get with your music that'll help you make enough money to live off your music and continue to sustain yourself so you can keep going. You don't have to, you know what I'm saying, say, you know what, I've been doing this for too long. Now I got to try something else. Because, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can still, like, prime example, somebody like Odyssey. Yeah. Who's been, you know what I'm saying, he's been rapping for a long time. And he's still rapping. He's still making music. And he's, that's what he does for a living still. So, you know what I'm saying? I think everybody deserves the opportunity, and we really got to figure out how to get those resources, because a lot of, the issue is just money and funding, and, like, people need to be able to live.
Yeah, nah, for sure. And I think being able to turn that into it. So that's why I was saying, like, even with the programming, like, for me, I'm heavy on the youth. And I realized, like, okay, them wanting to pick up a camera, them wanting to rap, them wanting to do anything in the creative arts direction is vital and important. And they're just trying to find that person that they can connect with. I mean, obviously in schools, they have the classes that they can take, but sometimes they may not be able to connect with that particular teacher or instructor. So, like, to create a program around that, to center it, to also make money is a win-win, and also to expose these kids. So that's why I felt like you were the perfect person for the film, because I'm like, you're going through it and you have your level of success, but at the same time, you're being transparent and letting them know, like, yo, it's really this. Yeah. And I'm going to expose you to that. And any questions that you guys have, I'm willing to answer. I ain't going to hide nothing from you.
And it's really important to me, because I wasn't really exposed to creative careers as a career option. Even when I went to Roosevelt and I was in science and tech, because I was on a specific track for that program, I didn't get to take as many, like, electives. So, like, there was a photography class at my high school. I didn't ever get to take it. There was, like, a Photoshop class. I didn't ever get to take it because I only have, like, one elective every quarter because of the way my schedule is. All my other classes are picked for me. And then when I got out of school, I was just like, okay, I need to, like, get a government job or just, get a high paying job. It wasn't like, let me explore what are my options for careers in the creative field. I didn't get exposed to that until I was an adult, and, like, hey, you're interested in producing? And I'm like, I don't even know what that entails.
Right, yeah.
Somebody has to explain that to me.
Right.
So, being able to expose kids to, like, when you watch movies, there's a bunch of different jobs that you can do and be a part of making that movie. And especially for, like, women and women of color, young women of color and young Black women, like, you don't necessarily have to be the actress or the makeup artist, or, you can be the director, you can be the producer, you can be the writer, you can be any of these things. Because I feel like that's a lot of what we see. We see a lot of men behind the scenes, and we see women, but they're usually in specific roles, and it's nothing wrong with that at all.
Right.
But when it comes to being in positions of leadership and power and directing the creative, we have to expose, these groups to these things, because they're not getting exposed in the same way that men are, or like, oh yeah, I'll get my cousin to be a PA. He'll move. He can pick up all the equipment and blah blah blah. Like, instead of, you don't, like, oh, I'm gonna get Ashley to be a PA, and it's like, well, we need her to move equipment around. It's like, yeah, she's gonna do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're
like,
capable. They're capable of doing it. Why not?
Just like any job where it's like you're gonna have to lift 50 pounds, 25 pounds. It don't matter whether you're a man or a woman.
Right.
You either do the job or you can't.
I agree.
But it's just kind of easy. A little bit easier. I feel like men get a little bit more exposed to certain things, and when there's already a lot of males in an industry, it's easier to just kind of bring more of the same in.
Yeah.
You have to be intentional about making space for other people that you don't normally see in the space, because it's not even like you just don't think about it all the time.
No, I agree. And I feel like, even making the opportunities fair, like, they add value just as we add value. Like, you add value, I have value. You know what I'm saying? I'm a man, you're a woman. Like,
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing wrong with it. I can learn from you, you can learn from me.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So I think even in the space, we're growing and we're elevating and we're seeing things on a bigger scale. So, like, what are some of the, I guess, when it comes to creative direction, like, what is that? I guess, how would we define that? And, like, what is your advice around that? Because we have a lot of people, that are talented, may not know, but, like, what does creative direction look like? Is that tied into branding, marketing, or is it just one title itself?
Well, I think, creative direction can be a broad term, but I think the key word in it is direction. Like, anybody can be creative, but when you're directing something, you are guiding and leading a process. And so with that, I feel like, there has to be a certain level of organization and structure, right? So the creative aspect is whatever's in your brain, your ideas, whatever you're visualizing, whatever you're seeing, but being able to make that into something tangible so that other people can see it and understand it, at least to an extent, so that it can be executed, is really what creative direction is. It's developing your ideas and your concepts and providing a certain level of direction and, being able to put things in a way that other people can understand. So creative direction can be something that you're doing on set and in the moment, and you're leading the creative aspect of something, but people around you still have to know what you're doing. So even if you're not on set, whatever, your ideas are, you should be able to have something where other people can visualize or read and understand, like, what direction you're going in with the overall concept. And I've been creative directing for a long time. I started when I was doing actually modeling, because, I work with some photographers and they wouldn't necessarily have specific concept, and I'll be like, well, I got ideas, so I'll creative direct, and I would, maybe put together a mood board. I've had times where I've literally drawn things because it's easier for me to draw it and visualize it that way than to find a reference and try to find something that already exists, because maybe what I'm thinking of doesn't quite exist yet. And also just being able to either articulate or write down, what your ideas are, so that there's more than one way for people to take in the information.
There it goes. You being, adding value to the room.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Because now I'm saying, because when people be lost, it's like, where we going? All right, I got something. And then on top of that, nobody, heckled you or anything like that. It's like, all right, cool, we'll try it. And that's where people can move forward.
Yeah.
That's the easiest thing.
And it's really important, like you said, in terms of marketing and things like that, because everyone's artwork kind of, like I said, if you're an artist, you're creating music, that your artwork is going to get a reaction from an individual, unique reaction from everybody that takes it in. And a lot of times when we read something or we hear something, we tend to create some sort of visual for it in our mind anyway. So that incorporating creative direction and unique visuals and things like that, it helps push you as an artist and further helps people connect with you and, help you build an audience of people that are aligned with your art.
Nah, for sure.
Yeah.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I know for me, when I get motivated by watching films or listening to music, things like that. I know for me, Nipsey Hussle is a big inspiration for me.
Yeah.
Who else? Like I'll listen to like Larry June, different types of things, like different music that'll get me in the mode, like J. Cole, Kendrick, of course. A lot of the local rappers also, but just to stay creatively sane. So like, how do you, I guess, still spark your ideas? Like, who inspires you in the field that you're in, or like, how do you kind of get bits of creativity to continue to, do the things you do?
Um, well, I will say like three of my favorite filmmakers are Issa Rae, Quinta Brunson, and Ava DuVernay. Um, Issa Rae and Quinta are like so funny. I love them. I love comedy. I love their style of comedy. And Eva DuVernay is just like a genius. She makes really important films. One of her recent films, Origin, that I just watched, like I just think like everybody should watch that movie. Like it's very I aspire to be like all of them because all the things that they make are important in different ways. Like Issa Rae and Quinta Brunson's level of comedy is just like comedy that we need. I think in the Black community, but also like within the community of Black women. Like there needs to be space for women who enjoy this type of comedy. Like I like being able to see myself in their work, and I really aspire to be like Ava, because she's just so intentional with the messages that she puts out, and she really I think inspires a lot of pride, through her films. But in general, like I'm just a big fan of art. I love going to museums to get inspiration. I just like being surrounded by art, and again, I'm very visually stimulated. So like going to a museum and walking around looking at the art, that's like one of my favorite things to do. And I also enjoy like multidiscipline art events. So like, art events where there's people, that are selling paintings, they're selling clothing, they're selling jewelry, they're selling sculptures, handmade, whatever, crafts, food. Like those are the things that inspire me. And I like watching and meeting the type of people that go to those events. Like I get inspiration also too from other people I meet, my friends. I am very inspired by other people's constant ability to be creative and create new things. Like it really brings me joy, and it motivates me and makes me feel like I can create something too. So I immerse myself in art in all forms, like as much as possible.
No, for sure. I love that. I think that's dope too. And I kind of reflect on like the childhood movies I've watched that still kind of like inspire me to this day. Like,
Yeah.
of course, like Pursuit of Happiness. That's still one of my favorite
Mm-hmm.
films I can watch. And yeah, I did cry. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But it's okay to do that. And then, you have your films like, the Coach Carters of the world, the Love Don't Cost a Things,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And I just look back and I'm like, even the shows that you grow up on, from the Martin to the Fresh Prince, like, it's like, what is that like now for the kids? You know what I'm saying? Things like that. So it's just dope that you're continuing to do what you're doing in film. So, like, did you have like a favorite childhood movie that you watched that still like resonates with you? You could still watch and it never gets old?
I mean, there's probably a couple, but like the first movie that came to mind when you said childhood movies, and then I can't stop thinking about is The Goonies. I love that movie. I could watch that movie anytime because it's like it's such just a quintessential, like, like, just innocent movie. Like I feel it kind of makes me feel sad that a lot of our youth, I feel like a lot of them are growing up so much more quickly than I grew up when I was a kid, and they're having to deal with like so many more harsh realities, and they're exposed to a lot more because of social media. So like, them dealing with the pandemic and then being on social media and seeing genocide in Gaza, and like I just wasn't, and I'm not saying it's bad to not to be aware of what's going on, but there's just a lot of things that can take you out of what you really should be focusing on as a child. And as our economy continues to change and things become more expensive, you see a lot more of the youth resorting to like negative activities out of survival, out of poverty, out of lack of opportunity and things to do. And for me, like, the movie The Goonies was just like kids being kids. Yeah, they were dealing with like, you know, a challenge in life. Like the parents were they were about to lose their house and they were have to move, and that's a harsh reality, you know, for a lot of people. And when you're a kid, you don't have no control over that.
Right.
And you don't want to leave. You don't want to leave your friends. And so the whole idea was like, we're going to go on a treasure hunt to try to get some treasure, to get some money so that my parents don't got to sell their house and we don't have to move.
Right,
and that's
right.
literally what happened. And there was, you know, so many funny parts. And they had, you know, just this like really crazy, goofy, quirky group of friends. And, you know, I'm a very goofy, silly person. So to this day, I could watch that movie and, you know, just it is just going to take me to like a happy place. I love that movie.
That's good. That's good to have that, because I think that that's what we all need. And sometimes when we are like on this journey, this roller coaster of life, like embracing the twists, the turns, and everything, is like to go back and have those aha moments, those rejuvenation type of moments where it's like, all right, cool, like, okay, it's more fuel in the tank now. I can keep going. I can keep moving forward and just stand, you know, grounded and level headed. So, nah, for sure. And like, I think movies teach you a lot. Like, I know I was watching like some of the old classics this week, like from Paid in Full to like Boys in the Hood and all that. And I'm like, the first time you watch it, you're like, okay. But then you go back and you rewatch it, it's like, oh, this is what it was really teaching you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, so understanding like your environment, your atmosphere, the people that you hang around, things you say, the things you do, all that.
Definitely.
Pays a lot. A lot of dividends for sure. So as far as like self-care, because you're doing all these projects, so like, what does self-care look like for you?
To be honest, isolation.
Okay.
Because I'm more of an introverted person, or I guess there's a term like ambivert, meaning like I'm more extroverted around when I'm comfortable with people. And so if I'm in like a new environment around new people, I'm a little more shy and reserved. I'm not necessarily the person that's going to go out my way to be like, hi, how are you?
Right.
I'm this person, or I recognize you. Like, I'm just kind of like shy. And, you know, I have some social anxiety. So there's a lot of times I'm in public places and I'm like, I hope no one speaks to me at all, which is not because I don't want to like engage with people, but just because like I just have anxiety about talking to people because I can be very awkward. And, you know, like I have gone through a lot of like stages of just kind of like self-doubt and, you know, sometimes feeling like, you know, like I don't necessarily belong in this room or around these people.
Wow.
And I feel like I've gotten a lot further with that. Like, I feel like I'm in a good place now, but I'm still just not as outgoing or as social. Like, I like to definitely share my work, and like, you know, I put a lot of my work out on social media, but in real life, like, I like being at home with my dog, and I like being able to just like chill and only be able to like interact and engage with people like when I feel comfortable and when I feel ready, and in my own time and on my own terms. And part of it is because like, you know, as my job as a like producer, in film specifically, I have to talk to strangers all the time. I get contacts, I have to reach out to people, I have to go into businesses and talk to the owner about, hey, we want to shoot here, can we use this location, like, you know, and just try to, you know, and I, like I said, I'm not a super extroverted person, so it's times where like I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to have in the morning time, silence. Okay, that's what I like. Silence. It's too early to talk. It's too early for anybody to talk. I mean, we can text, but like, why are you calling me? Okay. And that's just, you know, that's just me partially being dramatic. Cause like, if I have to talk to people and I have meetings, I'm gonna do it.
Right,
and like,
sure.
I'm not gonna be like, oh, I hate everybody and I hate my life. But I would rather not.
Right.
And I would just, like, it's just isolation for me. And being able to like take time to myself and just decompress and relax and try to feel like I don't have a million things to do and I'm not like, I don't have all these obligations.
Nah, I feel you on that. I felt everything that you sat there and said, because that's literally just me. Like, I literally feel like, okay, peace and quiet is cool. A walk, nature, whatever it may be, like decompressing from your phone. Like, no, I'm not going to sit there and respond to this message. There's so many people that's sitting there hitting me up, or, oh my gosh, did you see what happened in the news? Like, yo, you're in this community space. What do you feel about? Nah, bro, I'm human.
Right.
Like, I need my time. Relax. Like,
right.
let me go ahead and relax and decompress, and let me go ahead and journal or go watch the game or something. Like, let me just go ahead and chill.
Yeah.
Because I think that for me, like you sat there and said, like being in rooms, and you're like, how did I get in this room? I'm around these people. Like, even though I may seem confident at times, there's times where I doubt myself. It's like, what do you mean? And people do deal with anxiety, and I do too. And it's a real thing. Because it's like, it's not that I don't want to talk to everybody. It's just that I need my space.
Yeah.
And
it's not y'all, it's me.
Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with y'all. Right. It's a me thing.
It's
don't
not
worry
that I
about
don't want to talk to you. I just don't want to talk at all.
Right, yeah.
I
like,
just want to exist here and just be able to observe.
Yeah, let me observe. I don't have to sit there and talk so much. Oh, yeah, you talk a lot. You ain't got no question? I don't got no question. I'm good. I'm good. You said what I needed to say. I'm good. Like,
I'm processing.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And I think that we're human. And that's the biggest thing, too. So, like, just going through that as well. So, as I maneuver through this space, I'm just telling myself, like, just heavy on the grace, heavy on your learning, heavy on the, you're not going to be perfect, and just keep walking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just
Absolutely.
keep walking in this space.
You got to just keep going. Just do your best every day. It's going to look, every day, your best is going to look different. But as long as you know you gave your best, like, you know what I'm saying? That's a good thing. Just hold yourself accountable. That's all you can do.
I feel like we hit like all the topics as far as like, film and everything in that creative process. So like for the people that are inspiring to be like a film director or want to get into like the content creation space, because I think that's what they call it now, and everything like that, what would your advice be to those people? And, just advice to the youth as well.
Don't overthink yourself out of starting. I do that still, and it's really hard, but sometimes you just gotta start and then be okay with it being cringe in the beginning, because it's probably gonna be a little cringe. You're gonna be like, oh my God, like I messed that up, or I didn't have this, my lighting was off. But just start, because somebody wants to see it, and somebody wants to learn from it, and someone wants to engage with it, and you're only going to get better. You only have time to improve, but you're going to waste time if you never start and you overthink and just talk yourself out of starting. And I also think, like, specifically, if you want to get into, content creation, like just do it. You don't need anything fancy to do that. Do it in your house, use your phone, and just start. For film specifically, I would say go find a set to intern on. Go find somebody who's shooting. Even if you just know one person that has a camera and they're shooting, how can I assist you? How can I help you? What could I do to help make your shoot easier in order to be around you so that I can learn and pick up what you're doing? And then continue, like find other people, find other spaces, and sets and shoots, and find people that are doing what you're doing. If you don't know anybody personally, find communities online, find Facebook groups, find photographers in your area that you've seen shoot with somebody and join their channel, or reach out to them and say, hey, can I learn with you? Can I intern with you? If you reach out to a bunch of people, you might get a bunch of no's, but somebody's going to say yes. And somebody's going to be willing to help you and to teach you, or at least point you in the right direction of where you can go. But just don't be afraid to reach out to people and ask for an opportunity, because opportunity ain't always going to be knocking on your door. You got to go seek it out.
Nah, for sure. I would definitely say that 4 years ago, I started this. And I didn't know, all God was telling me to do was start. I was worried about the image, how it was going to look. Oh, nah, everybody else's looks like this, everybody else looks like that. And I can literally say year after year after year, I just been building a network.
Yeah.
And that's what it was, literally okay, this led to this. It led to events. It led to programming. It led to more and more things. And I just kept going. So like, don't worry about how it looks in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
And just keep going and just remain consistent and realizing building your organic community, because you'll never know who you inspire. It's not about the, I guess, the like or the view per se, because everybody gets caught up in that. It's about the needs and the love.
And do it for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, make your art for yourself. Don't try to do things because you think that's what other people want to see. Like, let your art be genuine through you and be something that you're passionate about, and everything else will fall into place. Like, the opportunities will come, the money will come, but you know, do something you believe in.
Nah, for sure. I appreciate you. I
Thank
feel like
you.
this was very helpful. I think it's going to help a lot of people. Like I said, those people that had question marks over their heads about film, for sure. And like I said, I think that you're going to be doing bigger and better projects. You know, I'm speaking to Amazon Primes, I'm speaking to Netflix, I'm speaking to all that over that, because I see the work ethic, I see the vision, I see what you're doing. You're consistent with motivation, you're consistent on the grind 24/7, and you're always adding value to the spaces that you're in. So continue to do that, because you are valuable, you are dope, and you're amazing. If you did not know that, you are.
Thank you, Jay. I appreciate that.
For sure. So, you know, and I just want people to know, like, yo, it's your winning season. Like, if you haven't heard that, it's your winning season. It's time for you to win. Like, get up off the couch, whatever you're doing, go in the game. It's time for you to win. That's
Thank
what
you,
I'll
Jay.
definitely say.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor and pleasure to be here and speak with you. I really enjoyed the conversation. You asked some really great questions. And I do hope that, you know, my answers, you know, help give some insight. So I really appreciate the platform to be able to do that.
For sure, for sure. And you already know, the harder you grind, the bigger you dream. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. I said the harder you grind, the bigger you dream. And we out.
That's good.
That was dope.